Welcome to Across the Desk and our new series in partnership with Maddie Dever, the Autistic Rambler. Maddie is a non-binary autistic advocate engaged in political advocacy, a parent of 5, and a very funny person. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about, and we look forward to you joining the conversation. Now let's get to rambling. Okay. Recording will start. It even gives you a warning.
Yeah. It's like,
oh my God, this is so exciting. We have begun. All right. Hello and welcome to Across the Desk. My name is Elizabeth Plouffe and I am the host of Across the Desk. And today is the Autistic Rambler with the ever-loving Maddie Dever. Maddie Betty. Anyway, one of those.
Throw any of the names as long as you don't call me late for dinner.
Well, we have had dinner together a few times, but we went together, so that day I couldn't call you late. So we're going to talk about tools today. And I know that sounds weird, but Maddie and I have been working on a couple of different things. And one of the things that we're working on at Spiro Careers Canada is creating a multi-skilled coaching collaboration team. So tools is part of that, but maybe we'll talk about skills first. Because I'm fortunate when Maddie and I got to meet, I knew a few things about you, but since what's it been, 3 years?
3 years now, yeah.
Give or take. I've learned ever so much more about your skill set and what you're interested in and what you're able to do. And I'm not able to do, sorry, I don't mean that in a disability way, but in a what they're comfortable in doing way, versus what others might perceive they're good at doing. And one of the frustrations that happens within the disability community, the neurodivergent community in particular, is that the services that are set up are, well, we're going to talk about a young lady named Suzy.
Hang on, Suzy, hang on.
Right. She does make me sing a tune, but not in a positive way. So I've been doing some investigating and broached the topic to Maddie today. And they've unfortunately had to navigate a few different services with a lot of Suzys. So what we mean by Suzy is when you are working with an organization, they usually have targets they have to meet if they're government funded, and they have particular ways they need to do something. And so what happens is they have an employee persona that they hire over and over and over again. And I confirmed this the other day with multiple people. And so because our focus happens to be employment, that typically Suzy is somebody who has been an employee, hopefully at some point, has their career counseling certificate from either Humber or Conestoga, and has an interest in, ticks a couple of boxes, but they don't look beyond, they don't look beyond those skill sets.
Yeah.
And it's been brought to my attention, so this is not a judgment, this is what I'm being told, that there's a lot of interest in continuing education in diverse opportunities. So what that creates is a sea of Suzys it's a sea of Suzys, people. And that really frustrates me. So Maddie and I have worked together on a couple of different things, which has been fantastic, because when I started building this coaching team, one of the first questions I got asked was, well, what do you want me to do? Or what skills do you want me to have? And I said, no. And now my standard response is going to be, I'm not building a team of Suzys. So what I would love for you to share, Maddie, because you said a couple of different interesting things. We're trying out some new tools today. But I think there's going to be some significance in this podcast as well. So when we were working in Airtable and we were looking at the skills, you said a couple of really important things. One was, I wish there was a list of skills to pick from.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I asked, what skills do you want to have as a part of this, right? So tell me a little bit about that.
So sometimes it's a lot easier when you're trying to figure things out about yourself to go through a checkbox of things that either do or don't match your own perspective of yourself. Trying one of this goes back to one of the difficulties of self advocacy, because in a way this sort of is being able to speak about yourself, know things about yourself in a way that others can understand. And
Right.
open-ended questions are really challenging. So the more direction we have towards a question, even if it's open-ended, helps us be able to answer it in a way that matches our skills. Like giving an example of a thing helps us to then say other things that may be the case. But when it's open-ended, it's a challenge because you're having to look inside of yourself, and that's not always an area where you have the most knowledge. You do if somebody said, "Can you do this?" It's a yes/no thing. At the binary, we can probably say yes and. But if you're asking us without just what can you do?
No context.
It's a daunting challenge because you're not sure what they're really looking for. Because sometimes that
here's
question,
interesting.
yeah.
Sorry. See, every
Go
time
ahead.
you say these smart things and then you make me think and then I interrupt, which is so rude. But basically it's your fault because you're too good. So
hey, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. So to give context, right? If this is your first time listening, welcome. The Autistic Rambler is Maddie's branding. They have the Autistic Rambler website and what have you. And then we started chatting about doing a podcast together. And the goal was to be able to highlight Maddie's branding. And plus, it's just a really cool title. So the two of us that come to the microphone, Maddie is autistic, non-binary, an advocate within government and autism-focused organizations, an avid advocate in a great way. And they are the parent of 5 kids, 4 of whom are autistic. They are also in a wheelchair and they also deal with some physical disabilities. So you are like the shooting star of intersectionality, which is fantastic. I am far less exciting being a, cisgender female who's married to a great guy for 30 years-ish. Well, no, sorry, that's a lie. 27 years married, 30 something together. I have 2 kids. My eldest, Thomas, is autistic. My daughter, Vanessa, is, as far as we know, neurotypical, except for inheriting my personality, which is a challenging thing. And I've been identified as neurodivergent in having ADD. So consequently, Maddie's fantastic. If we ever get brave enough to share the videos, Maddie's got a great little rabbit finger puppet that helps keep everything on track. So that's why I share that context, because finding your skills and values is definitely challenging as a neurotypical. But when you are neurodivergent and you've been taught that your value is less than, and that layer is put over that, it's really important to have some tools and to navigate through that.
Yeah.
And so what I loved today when we were working in Airtable and putting that together is I would suggest it, you would process it, and then agree and expand on it.
Yeah.
Right. So to your point, using the Socratic method of suggestion and question and response in that way. So so that was another really cool thing that you said. Why does the Socratic method speak to you in that capacity as far as helping others?
So I think at the heart of it is that I'm a person that likes questions. I like asking questions because I like getting answers, because answers help me to ask the right questions to get better answers. And my dad embedded that in me as a kid. He would say, it's like, when you're learning something, don't just take what you've learned as fact. Ask questions to confirm, so that you know that the answers are you're being given are right or that you're comfortable with. And so,
Okay.
and my mom, my mom was a built-in debater, and she's. I come from a long line of lawyers. My grandfather was a lawyer. My great grandfather, my great grandfather was the first Chief Justice of Manitoba. His father was a lawyer. So there's this has been.
You missed your
I've
calling.
inherited. No, but I the thing is, I when I was a kid, I studied. When I was 10 years old, I started studying constitutional law because I loved everything about it. But
You are
it's just
such a weirdo. What
I know
10-year-old
it.
studies
Well,
constitutional law? I love you.
but it means that I'm really good at governance, right? I'm really I understand. I had my first copy of Robert's Rules of Robert's Rules when I was 13. Yes.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. I have 4 copies. I have 4 expanded copies of it now, and it's yeah.
What are
I
Robert's
have.
rules?
Oh, they're the things that guide you, like how, like the order of doing motions and seconding, and how things can proceed in a structured way, so that you get good debate without having people go blah 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 blah. It's when people don't understand the
Rules of
rules,
debate?
when you don't, yeah, rules of debate and rules of meetings. When you don't have that, you get anarchic things that you can completely disrupt in organizations. But when you have an agreed set of rules, you can do many things.
Okay, so
Structure,
now you got me thinking.
flexibility within, like there's structure, but then you can have the flexibility within that. But if you don't have the structure, it's really hard to move forward.
Okay, I'm having a moment. So I'm having a moment. So I never knew about Robert's rules. I am a born debater. Like, since a youngin', you have to do it this way. My automatic response is prove it and why.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
Exactly. Yep.
Drove my parents, bless their hearts, crackers. I mean, both of my parents have passed, so I'm sure if they were available, they would not. Because even my husband is like, why do you have to ask why all the time? And I'm like, why don't you just answer the question?
Why not? Why not ask all questions all the time?
Mine is not to do or die. Mine is to question and ask why.
The only thing I've taught the kids from, like, the youngest is don't answer a question with because. Because is not a reason.
I hate that.
So, yeah, every once in a while, one of us says because, and it says because is not a reason. So it's like, yes, I've taught you well. Now I'll give you the full reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's funny because my kids
reason enough. Yeah.
Used to say, I would take them to different places, and they would say, "I want," instead of "please may I" or "may I have" or whatever. They go, "I want," whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
My response, to quote Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend, was, "I want it. I want it. You can't have it." And it got
can't always get what you want.
That one did come up as well, but
I did that with my kids when they say that.
Yeah, the who was the first choice. That was one of the tools I used, and it got to the point where all I would have to do is take a breath to start singing, because I would do this in public, and they would be like, "We know, we want it, we can't have it." There you go.
Yeah.
So when you go back to the Socratic method and Robert's rules, what you are telling me, I think, is that you are attracted, because I'm visualizing this, because I think there's a tool to be built out of this. That would be an interesting way to deliver social skills training. If you were to look at the Socratic method, which is based on questioning, which is based on curiosity, right? Which a lot of coaching programs are built on now. That's the training that I took to be a coach, was the John C. Maxwell leadership training. And they call it curiosity coaching. What they should have said is, we're ripping off Socrates. But when you look at Robert's rules, I wonder, is there anything within that could resonate with somebody whose particular challenge in being autistic is the rules of engagement in a conversation? Could that become a tool that provides structure and format and comfort, so that conversation isn't such an overwhelming, icky thing?
So if you look at the TV show Big Bang Theory. Now, okay, it is not canon that Sheldon is autistic, but he's certainly neurodivergent. He uses agreements, like friendship agreements,
Yes.
relationship agreements. He uses all of these things so that he can provide some structure so that once that's set, he can then interact in a more comfortable way and stretch himself. Because each
Yes.
time he's creating this, so he's sort of creating his own rule, Robert's rules, so that the two parties can have some sort of agreement of things that may be his most challenging, so that he can then do the things that they need, and they can do the things that he need, and anything that's going to go against that, they use the agreement to find a way to mediate through it.
They're as per.
Yeah. My God, I
So
just
now,
used
having said that, of course,
that reference.
what's that?
I just realized this as I'm talking, like that, like, yeah, that's how he does it. That's how he basically one of the struggles that we have as autistics, and one of the reasons why the whole autistics diagnosis exists is social communication. Understanding the rules involved in communicating and connecting with others is challenging. So
Yep.
when we find a way to put some structure to we if we can understand the basics of some structures that other people are doing, so that we can then be part of that, and then find a way of saying, hey, I want to be part of this, but I also sometimes just need to be parallel to you.
Yeah.
If you want me to participate, I need you to let me know in this particular way. And then, but when I don't want to interactively participate, I want to be allowed to be parallel to you, but
Yeah.
acknowledge that I am participating. And
It just might
it's
look different.
oh my God, it's like, so this is some of the things that the younger kids struggle with, because autistics, many autistics uh, prefer parallel play to interactive play. And so much of the world and thinkers and ECEs and early childhood stuff say, well, they need to do interactive play. And the more you force that, the I find there's more struggles, more reactions, more behaviors. So if instead we found a way of saying, hey, we're going to give you the option to do this, and we're going to
Yeah.
let you do the parallel play. As you get older, you can provide the connections to be able to either ask adults to help you, with friends, say, to get my attention to do this way. Here's how to do it. And as I get older and older, because I've been accommodated this way, I'm going to learn how to adapt myself to do this, as Sheldon is able to do, and as I also am. I struggled with how to trust the interactions with other people, and many times I'd end up doing things that completely screw things, and I had no idea why. Now I
Yeah.
feel more comfortable telling people, hey, right, when we're around together, sometimes I like to be around, but I'm doing my own thing, I'm on my own thing, but I'm listening and participating, and there's
Yeah.
times where I'm going to get fully enjoyed. um there's sometimes I get overwhelmed, and I just need to be able to tell people I gotta find a quieter place. I didn't know how to do that. The last 7 years, as we've talked about, has been me more understanding myself, so that I'm able to say the things to the people to have better relationships. This did not exist, and I'm seeing this with my kids. Like my daughter's my 15-year-old daughter's biggest struggle is she doesn't need to learn how to play with other autistics. She's mastered that. She needs her neurotypical friends, or at least her non autistic friends, to learn how to play with her. You know, they we need to find a way of setting the rules so that both can participate, instead of her being forced to, you know, figure out their rules, and her not being her. In order for her to do that, she'd have to fully mask, and that would wipe her ability to do anything else. So, like, she's
Well,
able to
it's funny
say
because,
that.
yeah. Well, so now she's advocating, but it's funny
Yeah.
that you bring that particular thing up, because when my son was in nursery school, that was the first indicator to them, and I'm using air quotes that you can't see, that something is wrong, because he was perfectly content to
Yeah.
play side by side. It didn't mean he wasn't enjoying himself. It didn't mean whatever.
Yeah.
He just didn't care about the other. Not that he didn't care either, because he would engage when he felt like it. But
Yeah.
I think I wonder, because I can spend days and days on my own and be completely fine.
Yeah.
Right. So when I worked at Girl Guides of Canada, we had an office fire. The building was divided into 3 sections, and the fire happened in one section. And that happened to be where my office and the manager's office where it was. So we ended up having to work upstairs. You're going to give me a big quiet office where nobody can come and bother me for a couple of hours, and I can go down and be social when I want to. Again,
Hallelujah.
yeah, not autistic, but I am
Yeah.
tending towards introversion. So I'm okay. Plus, I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with who I am, right? So I just don't care.
Yeah.
So then we're back down in our new office, and we're a few months in, and my coworker who was sharing that space with me broke her foot and had to be off. And like after a couple of days, my manager comes over and she's like, "Are you okay over here on your own? Like, we're a little worried about you." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, "Oh, Barb." I'm like, that's not a concern you need to have for yourself. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I need to come and talk to you, I know where you are. And she just, so I wonder if part of the reason that becomes an issue is because of other people's discomfort at spending time on their own. Because the individuals who are not engaging in parallel play are not lonely. They're just okay being alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just need to, anyway. So,
well, you made the connection to like introspective people have the same issue as autistics, in that people expect them. Like I think I don't know what the stats are, but it feels like the world is run mostly by extroverted people, and so extroverted people have a harder time empathizing with introverted people unless they're really close to that
I'm an ambivert.
middle line. Yeah, so like the extroverts
I go both ways.
People. Woo!
I do not, but anyway.
Well, anyways, extroverts.
But no, you're right, because you don't have an understanding. So the person that I worked with in that space was a diehard extrovert. She needed other people around her. She needed to have constant social, right? We went to a conference together.
Strength. Yeah.
Oh, it was making me crazy. So we were sharing a room. She's like, "Oh, I'm going to invite all of these people back to our room." And I was like, "Oh, fuck no."
Yeah.
She's like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I literally cannot. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I can be as extroverted as the next person when it's required in a conference. I can be outgoing. I will jump into activities. I'll lead activities. I'll join the sing song. I'll do whatever you want. Yeah. And I'll love it.
Yeah. When you're on, you're on, but you need to be off in order to be
when
on
I'm
again.
Off, you need to F off. Like, you need to give me a minimum of an hour to be on my own, to get rid of everybody else's stuff. She just had no ability to understand that at all. So we started talking about tools, and one of the things we also brought up was a sea of Suzy's. And that's going to be my new thing, man. It's a sea of Suzy's out there. So, and no offense to anybody who's a Suzy, I'm sure you're a lovely person. It was just the name that popped to mind when I started describing these individuals. And my concern is that if at a service provider level, we are perpetuating the Suzy persona across the organization, we are then losing things like somebody who is interested in Socratic teaching, and somebody who is interested in understanding Robert's rules around debate, and somebody who's interested in, who knows, right? Like, I love business development. I love leadership development. I love communication. I read weird books around apiary and farming and team development and introspection and everything. And when we hire a sea of Suzy's, we lose those tools that come with that
Yeah.
love of learning
Yeah.
and that diversity in learning. So, you know, how do we start to infiltrate the Suzy army and kind of go, all right,
Yeah.
there's got to be, right? So that's why one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing. And it's just hitting me now as I say it out loud. I think I always had the idea that that's what was happening, that it was a sea of Suzys out there.
Yeah.
But now I've confirmed it with a few different people, and I'm like, all right, I have never been a Suzy. I have no desire to be
Yeah.
a Suzy. So,
Well, I said to you earlier that the sea of Susys run with the mindset that they need to solve problems, and every client becomes a problem that they need to
yeah,
to deal with and get out of the way so they can move to the next problem. Whereas
yeah,
what I think that you and I want to build is this concept of we're starting with solution. Like we're starting with
yeah,
the mindset that there is a solution. We're going to find the best solution for the client, for the organization. We're not starting with we have a problem that we need to figure out and move on. It's a huge. It may seem the same thing, but it's a different attitude, and attitude is what is going to make the difference.
yeah. It got me thinking as well, right? So as you were saying that, I think it's more Sherlockian thinking, right? So if you look at how
Yeah,
Sherlock Holmes, if you've never read the series of books, by the way, honest to God,
indubitably.
happy chappy. When I finished reading all of their books, I was like, is there more? Like, why is he dead? I need more.
Yeah,
Conan Arthur Durham, like, what are you doing? Give me more. So what I find intriguing about that line of thinking is that nothing is outside the possible for him, right?
yeah,
When they are looking at a mystery, when they are looking at a situation that nobody else can solve or wants to solve or work on, that's when he's at his best
yeah,
because he's like challenge
yeah,
accepted.
yeah,
And I think that's what's happened is that instead of viewing individuals as people who are experiencing challenges and might need a variety of solutions, we try and fit them in a box because this is my lane and this is my skill set and this is all I can do. And
yeah,
the other thing that got brought to my attention is that, and this isn't everybody, right? So
yeah,
I completely appreciate and understand that we need a variety of services and that for some
yeah,
folk this works really well. So please, if you're
yeah,
doing this job, thank
yeah.
you.
It's
Great.
not an attack. It's just there's a difference of what we're looking for.
There's a way you can
Yeah,
do it differently that can help a load of people who are getting missed. And they
yeah. The
end up in
gaps.
the gaps and they end up in a situation where they're considered, unemployable or whatever. And that's not the case. You've
Okay.
just
Yeah,
had a Suzy versus a Sherlock versus a Socrates versus an Oprah, whatever, asking the right questions to unlock what is actually the issue. The other thing that was pointed out to me is that the current model of funding for these service providers creates a fear environment where it puts them off really intensely collaborating. And
yeah,
I'm all about collaboration and partnership. Like, I don't want to
yeah.
recreate anything that anybody else is doing.
When you're a number mill where you've just got to get people into jobs, and
Yeah.
that's how you're funded, you're not looking for the client's best job. You're looking for the fastest job the client can get. And it may not be a good fit. It may not be the best job,
Yeah.
but a job is just a job. If that's the philosophy, you're not
Yeah.
really invested in the client's need. And like that's I guess client coaching, right, is different than a job finder. And if you want to be a coach, you're really looking at the client. And if you're
Yeah.
if you're working with organizations, you're coaching the organization. Like there's an investment being made.
Yes.
Where if you're straight simply helping people find jobs, right? And you're a job counselor. I mean, I'm just using that term, but
There's
it
value
feels like,
there.
yeah, there's value there, but it's a different. You're finding that if you're finding them a job, and that's a good thing, but you don't have enough the experience or the mindset or the attitude to help them find the best job, even if it may take a little bit longer, right? Because you are under pressure, and not by Queen or by David Bowie, but you are under pressure by your funders to you want money, you get jobs. I think I had to.
I know.
It went that way.
It did go that way. I want it that way. Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Well, what I discovered is that there is a new employment model coming from the government, which according to somebody I spoke to today, pre-2010, there was a more holistic approach to job services. I think it was still pretty sea of Suzy's, but it sounded like it was better. And then the new government model came in 2010, and that just created a tsunami of Suzy's, because they had to crank people out faster into employment, and they had really high targets to meet, but they didn't take into account, right? So the executive director of an organization or the director of a specific program dictates where the funding goes. And if in your community the crisis is housing or the crisis is this, then the funding goes where the crisis flows, right? So focusing on employment loses that funding, and then it gets worse, because without jobs and without job development, how do you maintain having a home if you can't get a job because employment services are cut?
Yeah, and this is like the knock-on effect of prioritizing the wrong thing. Isn't just in the disability and poverty area. You look at places that have had huge, massive amount of growth in a particular industry, IT being one. People move massively over there. Yet, if they have a bubble and it bursts, you now have a sea of people that can't afford where they've been, and it's just it creates this effect on everybody around it. So, it's important to look at a broad set of priorities instead of a single priority of why you're doing something. And it's one of the things we're talking about coaching for employment. It should not end upon the signing of a job offer and having the person start, because especially for autistics, it's getting the job, like finding the job, getting the job, are probably the areas that we do get funding and support for. Not the greatest, but it's
maintaining
there.
The job.
But maintaining it and growing in the job, that's not is so little but that's the biggest area.
That's why we're trying to fix.
Why do we have low employment numbers? Because we do great when we first get jobs, and then we get a point where we're not understanding things, communication issues come in, we don't have the support, we don't know how to grow, and then boom, there's a job. And then it gets harder to get the next job. And if you repeat this 3 times, you tend to see a decade of unemployment before you're
failure
able
can
to
smack the snot out of people, whether you've created the failure or you've been put in the situation that creates failure.
You're not supported
smacks
properly.
The snot out of everybody. Yeah. So we're just doing like a short one today, and we always say that but we truly didn't prepare for this one.
Nope.
I mean, we truly don't prepare.
I just told Elizabeth, just start talking and I'll figure a way to answer.
That's not true. Today it was true.
It was true. Yeah.
Because speaking of tools, we're trying to flip over to use more of the Google suite, and one of the things that we know neurodivergent people struggle with is executive function. And so I'm discovering, for different reasons, the advantage of the Google Business Suite. And I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just sharing.
This is brought to you by Google.
It's not brought to you by Google, you turkey. And that was going to be
this is brought to you by the Alphabet Company.
Stop it. We are not sponsored by
Right. Okay.
Although that'd be super cool. I'd be on board with that.
This is not sponsored by anybody except our brains.
It's not sponsored by anybody except, us.
Coffee. It's sponsored by coffee.
You're not allowed anymore.
Go on. I'll stop.
All good. So one of the things that we're trying to do is obviously create accessible content and evaluate different tools and what have you. And one of the things I'm discovering with the Google Business Suite is the tool Meet. And now I'm discovering Meet has a whole bunch of accessibility things that Zoom does not have, that I've seen anyway. For an example, we are going to be trying, we are trying the transcript tool. And that's something you and I have talked about forever, because then if you are somebody who prefers to consume content from visual perspective of reading it, we're going to have that. You are smiling in a semi-maniacal way, which has me slightly worried.
I turned closed captions on, and oh my God, it's got the picture of you and the things that you say, and the picture of me and the things I say.
Okay.
And it's capturing every single word properly. It's putting it
How did you do that?
Like, I hit the CC button at the bottom of the screen beside the happy face emojis.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, well, look at that.
Well, look at that. So, because I was like, closed captioning is just one of those things that is hit and miss with Zoom.
It just said closed clamps, so I'm not sure it's completely.
Well, okay. Let's talk about, okay. She sells seashells by the seashore.
Yes, but if we choose to enunciate and space every single word to make sure that the closed captioning is doing its job, then this podcast will take for freaking ever. And everybody will be like, what the hell is wrong with your brain?
I wasn't enunciating properly in order to get the closed captioning to be efficient.
It just said enunciating.
I was just trying to get the right words, because it is a tongue twister. That's the whole purpose of it. Seashells by the seashore.
Okay, we're going down a bad rabbit hole. I'm going to have to edit this out. Here we go. I'm going to turn the closed captioning off because it is actually distracting me, because it is not as perfect as we would like, and that's going to make me crazy. So I'm turning that off.
Okay.
But that's really cool that there's that much more accessibility. So today was about that quick discussion of acknowledging that we do have a Sea of Suzy's currently offering services by the seashore, and we are trying to create something different. So we see you and we hear you, and some of us are you, and some of us have kids who are you, who have struggled under the existing formula for employment services and, employment support and coaching support and that kind of thing. And what these kinds of conversations do is they validate for me that we're on the right path, and that not being a Suzy is a good thing. Not that being Suzy is a bad thing, but we don't need another sea of Suzys. And when we look at the tools that people come to the table with, it is really important. And we'll back up for a second. If you are in a situation where you are seeking employment services and support, and you walk into an organization and it's not a fit for you, try somewhere else. And I know it can be hard. That first step walking in can be hard, asking for help. And I get that. There may be individuals on that team who understand neurodiverse individuals. They understand, like Maddie said earlier, parallel play, or the lack of parallel play in autistic kids, shows up later in life as gaze avoidance, as fidgeting, as appearing disinterested, and what have you, because that's how you handle stressful situations. And interviews and meeting job coaches and sharing vulnerable information is a great example of a highly stressful situation.
Yep.
What we are trying to do is get the Sea of Suzys to understand that when somebody comes into your office and they have gaze avoidance and they have to fidget and they have to whatever, it's not that they're not engaged. It's not that they're not intelligent. It's not that,
Mhm.
you know, they don't want the job. That's the way they need to function initially until you've developed a relationship in order to be able to listen, to be able to process information. So we have been really fortunate in the past couple of weeks, because of the work we've continued to do, to have some major organizations reach out and want to work with us on what we're doing. So the reason I share that is not in a braggy way, but it's in a, we're trying. We recognize that things need to change. And we recognize that neurodiverse individuals are some of the best people to move into coaching roles and support roles, which is why, like, out of our 9 people right now on our coaching collaboration, 2 are autistic. I'm neurodivergent with ADD. There's 4 entrepreneurs. There's 3 leadership development experts. There's just, we're trying to make it as diverse as possible. Everybody on the team welcomes the LGBTQ plus community. 2 people in particular, 3 actually out of 9, 4 have a direct connection to the LGBTQ plus community. 2 specifically are set up to be great mentors and whatever. We have 2 women founders on our team. We have tech people, we have creative people, we have policy people, we have mentors, like we have all of this stuff. Because we need to help the Suzys understand that there's still stuff to learn. And that's through us practicing that Socratic method and asking, you know, how are you doing your job now? How's that working out for you? Do you feel you're helping individuals in the way that you would like to? Because I would imagine for the coaches as well, or the employment specialists, it must be so disheartening when they know they can't help somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Either through funding constraints or metric constraints or whatever it is. So how do we help fix that? Right? Like we're coasting on this sea of failure, and it's just we're trying. It's what we're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That big blathering.
And we definitely don't want to float on the sea of no cares.
Sea of no cares?
Great Big Sea. Song, Great Big Sea.
Weird reference, but okay. I'm on your side. I do not listen to Great Big Sea. I do. No, that's a lie. I know.
That's shocking.
It's the end of the world. No, that's not it.
No, that's not. That's REM.
Somebody else.
Or Tragically Hip. Yeah. It's REM.
REM. Definitely not Tragically Hip.
Yeah.
I do know one Great Big Sea song, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Anyway. So I guess the point of today was to quick chat about tools, quick chat about methods, sort of understanding that there is a sea of Suzys and there is value in connecting and building a relationship. There is value in using different methods to help people. So if you happen to be in the support services, they're actually, so we talked quickly about the Google Suite because that's my latest thing. I found a really interesting thing, and I'll leave it here. Microsoft. I don't know a lot about Microsoft other than I have their products installed on my computer, have created an entire free learning library about unconscious bias, inclusivity, gender differences. I was like, what the hell? That's amazing. And it's really good content. Like I went in and did the unconscious bias one, and I was like, huh, good for you.
They were one of the first companies that really understood and grasped the neurodivergent concept and actively
not entirely shocking, by the way.
Yeah, has a whole team that actively looks at both hiring and supporting managers within Microsoft with autistic and neurodivergent candidates.
My friend Dave Dame works for Microsoft,
but they won't fix Microsoft Teams, which is horrible for us. Oh,
Well, Teams is terrible. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
No.
But so Dave Dame works on the inclusion team at Microsoft right now. Dave has cerebral palsy and lives life in a wheelchair and what have you. But this is also a guy who's completed his second or third Terry Fox marathon and walked parts of it, and has worked on their strength training to the point where they can now independently manage a few sets of stairs. Like the stuff that they've overcome, it just continues to astound me, because the way their CP affects them, their legs just don't want to listen. And their hands, like they have the contractions in their arms and hands. So wicked funny, wicked smart. First time I met Dave, I was helping to run a conference in Toronto called Spark the Change. And Dave has to travel with a personal support worker for a variety of reasons. And so met up with Dave and I said, hey, just want to check in. I'm the person, if you're having a challenge getting in anywhere or finding something or whatever, I'm the one that's going to help you fix that. So how are we doing so far? Were you able to get up here fine? Like, what do we need to do? And I was just very direct because I had other stuff to do. And Dave looks at me. We'd only been chatting for a few minutes. And he's like, I get the feeling if I don't do what you say, you're going to kick me in the junk. And I just looked at him. I'm like, Dave, why would I try and kick you in the junk? I'm going to hit your wheelchair and hurt my foot. And he just looked at me and he's like, we're going to be fine. Anyway, so yeah, we don't kick people in the junk here. So after a long and winding road, it's about tools. Mm-hmm. It's about different methods. It's about being in a job. You don't have to do it the same as everybody else. Find ways to differentiate yourself, because that will only make life better for those you're trying to help. And keep an eye out for us, because we got this coaching team coming that's going to blow your mind. And of course, Maddie's one of our coaches. So, Yep. All right. We're going to sign off and see how this turns out. I'm excited to see what the transcript says, which is going to be full of she sells seashells.
Yeah, and then you can you attach it to the podcast at SoundCloud?
We'll talk about that when we're done. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Then. I know it was a bit of a windy road, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye. Okay. Thank you for joining us on Across the Desk and our new series, The Autistic Rambler. Please visit spirocareerscanada.ca to learn more about the tools we're building with the autism community, and please visit theautisticrambler.com to learn more about Maddie Dever.